hello there. So I'm going to make a film about something, and I know it's going to be a bit challenging, but I'm just going to go for it. So quite a long time ago, when I finished my shamanic training, but before I'd actually formally launched myself and as in my journeyman phase of doing healing without being paid by people and still learning, there was a particular point in the winter when I did a load of journeys for myself, and one came up very strongly, and this one was where I found myself doing a journey for myself, and the new guide had manifested, and the guide then disappeared, and I was presented with a younger version of myself who told me, before this guide introduces himself to you, you're going to have to do some work, and what you need to do is you need to do something to heal all the sexual relationships you've ever been in your life, and you're going to need to offer an apology to each of your sexual partners, and you're going to have to offer an act of atonement. To which I went, huh? And it was a big surprise, and it took me months, and I did do it. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the film before, but I thought I would do so, and it was a very powerful process, finding the people, doing the apology, offering an act of atonement. It was quite something, and I definitely did feel it was a real clearing and a cleansing that I was doing, and I understood as I did that the way I see it, we all make mistakes, human beings. We all do things that we would rather we hadn't done. So I was having the opportunity to redress the balance, to undo the harm that I'd done effectively in all my relationships where there'd been sex involved. And there was a point towards the end of that process, I remember asking myself, but what about the relationships I've been in where there has not been any sex involved? And I remember feeling like, oh, okay, right, totally outside of my depth here, because that is going to be an inconceivably huge number. Wouldn't know how to cope with that. And what's been happening for me over the last weeks is that all those very relationships which I was not addressing at that time, they're the ones I'm addressing now. And it's happened quite spontaneously. It's to do with the earth changes which are taking place, to do with the polarization that's happening in the human race at this time. And I do know a lot of people that have been going through a really tough time in the last months, and it's to do with this. And for some people it is manifesting as physical pain, for others it's illnesses, for others it's emotional triggering and overwhelm, all kind of different states. And the one thing they've all got in common is they're all incredibly uncomfortable, and they've all got one thing in common, which is that it's pain. It's all about pain in some form or another. And so I want to speak to you about what's been happening with me in this regard. And I have been aware for a long time that for me to be able to have a smoke definitely is a way to manage my condition, for want of a better word. And I knew that there would time would come when I would need to work with whatever it is I hadn't dealt with, and that's what I've been doing. And so for me, I experience a great deal of emotional pain, and the word that comes to me, I remember someone using this word to me a long time ago, and I thought, ooh, that's not a word I hear much, and now I'm embodying that word, and the word is anguish. And it's ironic and perhaps totally appropriate that I have found the tool that works for me when I need it most. So I'm beginning to see it much more as a prayer than anything else. You can look at this as a mantra, it's a shamanic practice, so it's all those things, but to me it's a kind of a prayer as well. And it's this Ho'oponopono which I keep mentioning in films recently, and this is why I'm mentioning it. So what tends to happen to me is that I'll wake up in the night, and if that's not the time I do it, then it's when I'm waking up in the morning or when I'm going to bed at night. And like last night, for example, it was all three. So it was going to bed last night, it was waking up in the night, it was waking up this morning, and it's feeling a great deal of emotional anguish and pain. And one of the key features about it is images of people that I've known, people that I've known and loved, people that I care about, are still in my life. They come up for me, and I get this awareness of them, which is usually represented by actually seeing their face. And what I do when this happens is, this is my cue. If I'm not already doing it, that is my big cue, right, do it now, which is I go into repeating over and over again. And I've done it in different ways, but the way I like best of all is the way I'm going to do it now, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. And this comes from, and the woman's name is completely gone from my mind, so I'll put a link to one of her films in the description if you're interested to explore how she works with this. It's fascinating. The name's not going to come because it's not important. That's all there is to accept with that. So this is really a big part of my life now. It seems to be mostly taking place during the hours of darkness, although there are times. There was a time yesterday when I was driving, I felt the strong need to do this as well. And what I understand I'm doing is I'm literally clearing or cleaning. I'm praying my subconscious clean. That's something actually in the process of praying my subconscious clean. And this is the way that I see it. There's someone who I know very well, and he's been through a long period of time about being very angry with certain other people and seeing them as being 100% responsible for his problems. And this has helped me to see something which I might otherwise have taken a lot longer to see, which is in all human interactions. I'll speak for myself. I'm always at fault. There's always something that I have done wrong. There's always a mistake I've made. There's always a way I've hurt any person I've ever been in any relationship with it which has had any sense of reality in it. And I'll take a big leap here and say I think I'm not the only one. I think many of us feel like this, that we've done things that we're not proud of. We've done things we might even be deeply ashamed of. So for all of those of us that is the situation, it's a choice, and the old choice that we can make is to feel angry with the other person, to feel resentment, to feel bitterness, to feel betrayed, to feel rage, to feel all these things. And anyone is most welcome to do that, and that is the norm, that is the everyday situation. So the shamanic thing is turning itself completely on its head, and instead of focusing on what other people have done to me, I am focusing on what I did to them. And if I don't even know what it is I did to them, I make this big assumption, and the big assumption is I've done something to hurt them. And the way that I see this is if that person is coming to me in my awareness, in a memory or a thought, especially during the hours of the night, but it can happen at other times too, this is a big clue and a big cue for me. And it's telling me, hey, you need to clean on this person. So as soon as I get that sense of needing to clean on this person, I do the I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. And because when I started to do this process, I used to race through it at 90 miles an hour, almost gobbling the words up. I was rushing, so I deliberately slow it right down and do it really slowly. And I like to do like I'm sorry on the in breath, please forgive me on the out breath, because I'm doing all this silently in my head. I love you on the in breath, I thank you on the out breath. So that's been my way to slow the process down. And I do that picturing that person in my mind's eye until that image goes and another one comes up, which is followed by another one and another one, and so it goes on. And I do find that the most accurate words to describe the process for me is definitely anguish. I really do feel a lot of emotional pain doing this, and yet I also have this very strong sense that this is work that I'm doing that even goes beyond myself. I believe this actually has benefits on my ancestors and on my descendants as well. So if you do feel any degree of emotional anguish, and I'll just give an example. I've come across so many people with different symptoms. I even came across someone recently whose literally hair was falling out, And I take that as another indicator, a sign that anything that's giving you a strong physical reaction, where there's pain and there's discomfort and there's fear or anguish, whatever emotion it is, this is a really good set of cues which is saying, hey, maybe there's something you could do too. And also, here's the thing. In the past, if I used to wake up in the middle of the night, I used to just feel frustration. Oh God, I'm awake in the middle of the night. Oh, how boring, what a nuisance, I just want to go back to sleep to have a decent night's sleep. So that's my old model. But what I do now, when this happens, I say to myself, great, another opportunity to carry on with my prayers. So I'll keep on praying. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I thank you. And just keep on cleaning my subconscious. So this is what I'm doing in the night time. And now I'm in the daytime, there's something else I'm doing. Ever since I read in my research about Hawaiian shamanism that the subconscious is very amenable to pleasure. The subconscious is naturally attracted to, drawn to, and nourished by pleasure. Then the other thing that I'm making sure I do is to be really sure I'm doing things in my life which bring pleasure. And so very much one of those today, because I'm having this wonderful drive with my partner, going through this lovely countryside landscape. And when we get to our destination, we're going to get in the sea and have a swim, because it's a lovely day with the blue sky and it's warm. So this feeling of any opportunity to experience pleasure, whatever it may be. Another one for me is just pulling a tray of dehydrated rose hips out of the oven, pouring them into the bowl, letting them dry off, and so not dry, letting them cool down, because they are dry, that's why I've just pulled them out of the oven. Let them cool down, and then when they're cold, put them into a little paper packet and seal it up, and think that's more rose hips for the winter. So anything that I do that gives me a sense of pleasure is nourishing my subconscious, and all the prayers I'm doing is cleaning of my subconscious. And this to me is all about being prepared to take the next big step, which is to start working very consciously indeed with my superconscious, more than I've ever done before. And I did feel, when I was doing my research about the superconscious some couple of months ago, that I wasn't ready, that I needed to do something first. And it's the work on the subconscious that's been the priority for me. And I will know when I've done enough on the subconscious to start working with the super. I don't feel I have to completely finish one before I start the other, but I do feel I want to get far enough with the subconscious first. And I'm certainly getting there at the moment. And I'm really appreciating experiencing times when I don't smoke and I feel the anguish more keenly, and that's fine too. So this is very much what I'm going through at the moment, and this is one of the most pleasurable parts of the journey. We now go into this shady woodland stretch of the drive, which is so beautiful. So I'm feeling so much gratitude for all the massage that I'm having, which has caused me to be able to release all the traumas which have been accumulated in my body tissues and especially my muscles. And that's definitely been a big start of it for me. I needed to get on with that before I could really grasp all the emotional pain that I'm now working in. And I'm not just cleansing myself for what I've done for other people, I'm also cleansing myself for what I've done to myself as well. It's a big part of it. And something else I'm very keenly aware of, and it is in my chart, Pluto conjunct the midheaven in my chart, a tendency to excessive self-criticism. So not only am I cleaning myself for what I've done to other people, but I'm also cleaning championing myself to the extent to which I've excessively criticised myself. That's been a big part of the journey. And all this can be summed up by the shamanic phrase recapitulation. And there are many ways to make recapitulation, but these simply are the ways that I have been led to, that have been put in front of me, that I've resonated with, that work well for me. And that's something I've also picked up from my studies yesterday of Hawaiian shamanism. For any problem, there's always many solutions. So maybe the Ho'oponopono doesn't relate to you at all, but there may be something else that is just the thing for you. And if it works, that's the important thing. And in fact, that is actually one of the principles of shamanism which I've picked up from the Hawaiians. They say effectiveness is the measure of truth. So if you do any practice at all, whether it's a healing or a cleansing or a detox or whatever it is, you've only really got to ask yourself one question. You're doing that particular process. Is it effective? Does it give you good results? Do you feel that this is working? Because if so, that's wonderful. And if so, keep on. And all the blessings and all the love to you on your journey. And I wish and I pray that you find what works for you, whether it's a spiritual practice or a religion or a healing modality or a physical practice, whatever it may be, because this is the time for us to cleanse ourselves in every possible way that we can to prepare ourselves for what's to come. And there's a lot of people who are going to need help. All those of us who are doing our cleansing now, we're preparing ourselves to be able to be of great help to other people when it's their turn to do this process and they feel perhaps even more lost and confused and alone than some of us might be feeling on our journey. And that's why I'm so incredibly grateful, because every step of the way I've got the guides, I've got the helpers, I'm not alone, and I have the company of my partner, which is a great gift as well. So we just passed a fascinating sign called Blackpool Corner. People who live in England know of Blackpool's in Lancashire. Here's a different Blackpool over down in Devon. Okay, so we're not far away from our destination. So all the love to you. Thank you very much.